Hello, and welcome to our next presentation. On behalf of the MIT CDOIQ Virtual Symposium, we would like to thank all of our sponsors who have continued to support the symposium during this very challenging year. Before we thank our partners, we'd like to ask that sometime during the symposium's breaks that you visit our partners' virtual booths. You can also visit the Content Hub on the MIT CDOIQ website for some great partner resources. We'd like to thank the following partners: Deloitte, Informatica, Privacy Analytics, DELIVERABLES, Fusion Alliance, KPMG, Sandal Consultants, Tamer, Elation, Ali Data, Big ID, Boomi, Caserta, Citizen, Data Kitchen, Garage, Wakira, Pylog, Click, ThoughtSpot, Eckerson, Global IDs, Snowflake, Starburst. And as I said, please make every effort to visit our partners, use the virtual passport, because without them and our partner support, the symposium could not be held. Thank you.
Hello. Wanted to give you a quick update. We're starting to get some passport filled out where they were able to attend every single virtual booth. So people are knee deep in that. Now I'd like to introduce to you a very special lady. She's actually been a part of the MIT CDOIQ Symposium since 2007, and that's dangerously close to the very beginning of this whole organization. And also we just ended with health data, and now we're going to have a talk about vitamin D for data governance and how data governance can sustain data health. Lindy Kresl, the president of Tecnologia, has held a variety of international consulting and management positions with companies such as Boeing, Yahoo, PwC, Grupo Bimbo, by the way, that's the world's largest bakery, Home Depot, and Nike. In 2001, Ms. Kresl established her own consultancy specializing in BI and data architecture. Her professional experience includes development of enterprise business intelligence, enterprise information management, and data governance, data quality, initiatives, and projects. So we would like to ask Lindy to take it away.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that wonderful introduction. And good afternoon to everyone on the West Coast, and good evening to everyone on the East Coast. It's a pleasure to talk with you today, and thank you for joining the presentation. The COVID-19 pandemic has put many of the world's activities at a standstill. It's easy to say that COVID-19 definitely has a data governance problem. Each day brings a new set of staggering data points on the number of infected, hospitalizations, and casualties. As a data governance professional, I cannot help but notice the discrepancies and the disparities in the published dashboards all around surrounding COVID-19. One used to be a very lonely number, but now one is a very powerful number. One person can take the responsibility to start data governance. COVID-19 has escalated the need for data governance to support current data activities and remote workers. Recent study shows that the number one byproduct of no data governance is poor data quality. Gartner has been doing all kinds of surveys, and Gartner has established that in 2020, it is no longer acceptable not to implement data governance and its close cousin, data quality. This pandemic has forced so many organizations to cease normal operations. This shift in behavior has made data even more critical. The value of governance. Data governance is strategic, and it is definitely hard to get to stick. Please start with some basic stuff. Data dictionaries to help explain data, tracking, lineage, latency, and other simple essentials. Data governance also helps to improve data literacy. Poor data literacy ranks among the second largest barrier to success among Gartner's survey of chief data officers Many feel that organizations are not data literate. Building a data culture and investing in data literacy can help improve your data governance program. So let's talk about the definition of data governance. I like this definition from DAMA International. DAMA is a not-for-profit, vendor-independent association of technical and business professionals dedicated to advancing information and data management. I've been using this framework for data governance and implementing it in a variety of industries for at least the last 8 years. This is a simple framework and it works, and you're able to execute and deliver the data that any corporation in any industry needs. I also like this definition of data governance from the Data Governance Institute. Data governance sets the rules of engagement for management. Data governance is how we decide how to decide. Management is the decisions you make. Governance is the structure for making them. What is important within data governance is data stewardship. And many people don't understand the key role data stewardship plays in governance, but it's a best practice to implement stewardship along with governance. The two go together like needle and thread. Effective data management and governance are people-driven practices. Here are some best practices that I like to give. It's a simple list. If you start at the top and go to the bottom, it's kind of foolproof. There's no way you can miss. Create a task force. Start small with data stewards. Develop and maintain a data strategy. In your data strategy, have your standardized names, definitions, and business rules. Is everyone using the same data standard? There are different calculations and standards used to report on COVID-19. This is a very common data governance problem. To address it, we need to have an effort to standardize the definitions and calculations used within our own industry and other industries. The first level of data maturity in any data management and data maturity model is to define your data, and that means define every piece of data that your corporation is using. Data stewardship is just one mechanism for the governance. The framework is extremely important. I like to use this simple diagram to show the relationship between your subject areas, your data stewardship rules, and your data governance task force. People are very visual, so I find this to be very effective diagram. I also like to promote non-intrusive steps. Like I said before, data stewards are the first step. Identify them first and then apply this simple framework. What does it mean to govern data? Well, data governance is essentially the government of data. The need for decision-making is more important today than it's ever been. Governing your data can help you monetize your data. I did this when I was the DW manager at Yahoo. One effective way to monetize data was to look at all of our data products, and we were serving up a lot of data products at Yahoo. Also, what we did with monetization is we reduced our expenses to create dashboards and media for our vendors and our advertisers. We mitigated risks and we created new revenue streams with data products. I worked with MIT on a research project in 2018, and I can share some of the findings that we outlined for data monetization. A data governance task force is a collection of people who work together to create metadata and data, and that it makes sure that it's properly understood and defined. I like to say that the 3 C's are very important for the task force. Communicate, communicate, communicate. People and communication are the most important aspects of a data governance task force. It's not the technology, and secondly, it's the data. The first step the task force does is inventory and map existing data to define current data processes and procedures. Establish and define the different stewardship rules related to the data. Once these are completed, the task force can address strategic issues within the broad domains of data quality, data availability, data retention, data security, and privacy. It's all about people working together. So what is a data steward? It's a person responsible for content and definition of every piece of data in your corporation. They work within specific subject areas. They communicate these common definitions and ensure that they're shared. They contribute to change, and they're team players. I like to use this diagram to help train data stewards. These are the 3 characteristics that all good data stewards should have: teamwork, excellence, and leadership. I used this when I was at PricewaterhouseCoopers as a practice leader in a data warehouse practice, and this works for data stewardship beautifully. There are a lot of data stewardship types all over the market today. Any different website, you'll see anywhere from 7 to 12 different types of data stewards. I like to have 4. I like to keep it simple. I like to have it be a round number. Sponsors are senior managers who serve on a data governance task force. Chief stewards lead all business data stewards and facilitate meetings. Technical data stewards manage all the technical metadata. Let's talk about business data stewards for a minute. Business data stewards, along with stewards, make all the data decisions. They work strategically on high-level data decisions. Technical data stewards take those decisions that were implemented by the business and chief stewards, and they get them into the IT systems. They get them into the databases, whether the database is on-prem or on cloud. They get it into dashboards. They get it into every data source so that it's shared and understood by all. Responsibilities. I like to use the 2x4 approach. Data governance is not optional, especially in 2020. People will have to make time to do data stewardship, but I don't think they should be overburdened with work that they're already doing in their general job descriptions. This should be a series of tasks that are added to their current business area that they work in. They shouldn't be spending more than 5 to 8% of their time per month on data stewardship activities. If you overburden the data stewards with 50% more work, they're going to shut down and your program is not going to be effective. You have to be able to help them weave the data governance tasks and processes into their current work. Because let's face it, today, everybody is working with data. Everybody is touching data. It's ubiquitous. You also need to provide those data stewards with knowledge, tools, forums, and processes that help them become more effective and efficient and true data managers. I can't explain the people benefits of data governance in just one slide. There are so many tangible and intangible benefits from implementing data governance programs. You will have people make decisions faster. You will have people working less hours per week. You will have people doing less hunting and gathering of data. You will have people understanding and being on the same page because everything will be defined that you need to make a business decision. It's really, really a wonderful thing. You can improve morale just by implementing data governance. So what are some methods for collaboration? Technical, data assets in the cloud. Today, more than ever, the advantage of enabling data and data management from anywhere is what the cloud delivers to us. Whether you have a hybrid cloud, a private cloud, a combination of the two, doesn't matter. You're going to gain benefit from that because it removes bottlenecks and allows access to on-premise data for remote workers. They can connect to that data from anywhere. Metadata repositories or data dictionaries are key. I'll talk a little bit about some data dictionaries in the next few slides. Conceptual and logical data models, those are your data blueprints. Those are extremely helpful. And everyone says to me, oh, we don't have any data models. You do have data models. They just haven't been conceptualized. You can take ER Studio or Irwin, reverse engineer any database, create a model, and people will start using it. Adopt data ops. There's DevOps and there's data ops. I like to push data ops because data ops takes advantage of all the agile principles and it moves data management away from the waterfall methodology. I think what killed the old data architecture and data management groups was the waterfall methodology that was used within those teams. It was just too slow and too cumbersome. What are some of the people activities? I always used to say, let's do lunch. I would take new data stewards out to lunch, get to know them. Well, now I'm doing virtual lunches. Social media is effective at selling. When you're doing something cool with data, put it on Twitter, put it in Facebook, training. I still like to point people to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That book is great for data management as well. Influencing is a great skill because we have to influence people to share data. We have to influence people to reuse definitions and effective group facilitation. Group facilitation is key in the time of COVID-19. We're on group meetings all the time, every day. And if we're not effectively facilitating those meetings, having an agenda, putting out some ground rules, because we're all online and we're all video driven, we actually have to say one of the playbook rules, only one person talk at a time so that we can hear everybody. Because sometimes people get so excited, they all start talking at the same time. And when you're on a headset, it just doesn't come out. What are some non-intrusive key concepts? Well, Gartner says that companies have been slow to adopt data governance. But I say, try some of these key concepts. I say, give credit to anybody who leaves data in a better place than they found it. Make a big deal about it. Give awards. When I was working at Nike and implementing a data governance task force, we gave a weekly award to people for the most minor data activity that they did. If somebody went in and cleaned up some SAP definitions, great. If they went in and aligned some prices for luxury models and SAP modules, great. We were highlighting it. We were talking about it. We were giving awards and letting people know about it. One key concept that I think all data stewards and anyone involved in data governance must have, customer service orientated. If we see something wrong, do something about it. If we see a missing definition, create something, pass it along to the next person, ask them if they can add anything additional to make it look better, to make it more accurate. How do you apply your framework? I like to use this graphic. It's pretty simple when you look at it. It's not intrusive. It takes your technical data stewards and your business data stewards and helps them work together with the management team. The management team and the executive sponsors are in the middle. The key to getting this to work is the 3 C's. Communication, communication, communication. You'll see all these lines back and forth. Financial tracking. Data governance programs need money. The more money you save, the more money you have to put back in the business. Tech teams working and their responsibilities, business data stewards working and their responsibility. This is a great first step to kickstart your program. If you haven't thought about what framework you want to use, try this out. It's simple, it's effective. I've implemented it over 20 times, and you can execute on your data with this framework, and people will understand what you're doing. Data governance deliverables. So, some of the most important deliverables are also the most difficult to create. A project charter. Everyone knows data is a mess, but how do you start? Where do you start? You can't boil the ocean. You have to have a charter. You have to have a scope. You have to have a budget. All these things need to be put in place while you're flying the plane. You cannot wait for all this stuff to be approved and all this stuff to be documented. You have to show incremental process and you have to show incremental deliverables. So you're going to take small subsets of data and start to clean them and put them in a better place than they were, share them, define them, put them in a dictionary. Those are your data products. And the focus of these deliverables and the data products that you build will be reused. Back to Yahoo, we built a lot of data products and we viewed our analytics dashboards as long-term initiatives. We didn't view them as a start and a stop. They were ongoing and they were enhanced over time and they changed as new managers came and went. But those are the types of data products that you can start to build today with very little funding necessary. Data-driven architecture. Technology cannot be your driver. Technology is not the way to start in 2020. It hasn't been the way to start in the last 5 years on projects that I've been working on and initiatives that I've been working on. It has to be business driven. You have to have your corporate strategy and marry it to your data strategy. And then the combination of those two is so powerful that should drive your information strategy. If you're letting your information strategy drive your business or your data, you're not going to win in this battle, this COVID-19 battle. You've got to have business and data very tight. The data strategy is very important because that outlines a set of choices and decisions that chart your high-level course of action. And the data strategy is not the same thing as a data architecture. Both are needed. And many people will say to me, I don't have a data architecture. But you do have a data architecture. It just hasn't been drawn. It just hasn't been laid out. Your data architecture is the combination of all your databases, all your data sources, all your dashboards. Anywhere you have data that is used and persisted, you can reverse engineer that and get diagrams. You can get data models or process models, and that's the beginning of your data architecture. Data resolution. This is a pretty robust process diagram for a data governance task force. This is using the Jordan methodology. You don't have to do anything this sophisticated. You can take this and start throwing darts at it. You can cut half the processes out, rename the processes, use it. Just try it on a couple data problems. You're trying to unwind a data hairball. Just try it and go through some of these steps. There's only 8. And I think you'll find success working with it. I implemented something similar to this at Grupo Bimbo, world's largest bakery, and the Home Depot. Designate by subject areas. Organizations are defined in silos. The data doesn't need to be organized in silos because it is used and managed by many business organizations. The data is ubiquitous. The data flows wherever the data needs to go. Region data doesn't care if it ends up in a branch. Branch data doesn't care if it ends up with a customer. The data goes where it needs to go. And if you don't organize the data by subject, your business people will do it for you because business people are very resourceful and they have to solve business problems and they will go find data and take it and munge it and merge it together to get the decisions that they need. So I recommend that you take your data stewards and your subject area model, whether it's 3 entities, 20 entities, I don't recommend more than 20, and start to map your data stewards to the data so that they can be effective and quickly answer data issues, resolve data problems, and document all of the data elements within the particular subject area. Data remediation. I built this process when I was at Yahoo because we were remediating bad data to the tune of a petabyte a day. It was a lot of work and it was a never-ending job and it was continual. You need to build this process into your daily process. 7 steps or less. The brain can only handle 7. So try to keep all of your process models, all of your business processes and technical processes to 7 steps or less. Data remediation probably is about 80% of your data governance work. But if you focus on it and you work on it, it'll deliver a high quality data governance program. And people will be happy because they will understand the data and they will be using it and they will be able to trust the data. If people don't trust your data, they're not going to use it. They're going to go out and find their own data. And if you don't have clean, accurate data within your data governance task force, then you've got a problem there. You won't have people coming to meetings. You won't be having people collaborate. People will create their own little hoard of clean data. They'll say, I don't want to play with you. Your data is too dirty. I've cleaned up my data. I'm going to just keep using my data. So think about data remediation. Think about this process. I'm sure you'll find benefit in using it. One of the key deliverables that I like to recommend, which a lot of people leave out, is your issues log. You can create an issues log in just about anything. In Excel, in Microsoft Project. I like to use Jira. You can get a free copy of Jira for up to 10 users. And if you want to start really quickly with a data governance task force and you want to throw together some issues log, you can go get a free copy of Jira and start building it. Don't underestimate the value of data issue management. You need to see the problem in writing. You need to offer a solution. You need to track that it's been solved, and you need to store it because that problem will come up again and again, and you'll be able to reference and go back to it and tell people, oh, we solved that for product pricing. We can use it for another subject area. It's very, very agile process. Writing data definitions. This is really drudgery to a lot of people. But I think in the time of COVID-19, data definitions are more important than they've ever been. And I think COVID-19 is spotting a highlight on the lack of consistent, standardized data definitions across multiple industries, not just the healthcare industry. Data is always a noun. A definition describes a thing, not a process. If you want to put process in your definition, put it in as an example, but don't make the process the definition of the term. And once again, if you want to build that data maturity, that level 1 says you need to write a definition for every piece of data. It doesn't have to be a novel. It can be 1 or 2 sentences, but it needs to be accurate. And here's 5 tips to help you get started. So where do those definitions land? They land in a data dictionary. And there's different types of data dictionaries. This dictionary was built in Tableau using the latest version. And I've been building dictionaries in Tableau since around 2009 when it first came out, because you can build a dashboard in Tableau in about 3 hours. The latest version has some data governance options built in. This is an active data dictionary, and that means that it is tied to a database. And so when the database is updated by the Data Governance Task Force, the new definitions will automatically paint in this dictionary. This dictionary is pushed out to every mobile device so that executives at any level can read it on their phones. Data stewards can read it. It gets about, the average dictionary I've deployed has gotten about 5,000 views a day, depending upon the size of the organization. There's also some industry standard dictionaries on the web. One that I go to often is the world's largest open technical dictionary, and it's from the Electronic Commerce Code Management Association. They're a not-for-profit association of master data quality managers. So you can check out that link, and there's a lot of good definitions that I've stolen from there and reused, and it's becoming more standardized as more and more people use it. in the time of COVID-19, something has spin off and has a lot more relevance than 3 or 4 years ago. Metric dictionaries. When I worked at Home Depot, Nike, Yahoo, any place that had sales, those sales metrics were key. But I would always put the sales metrics in the dictionary with my business terms. But with COVID-19, those metrics are too critical. Those metrics are about human cargo, and data about humans is more precious than gold. So I've created exactly the metric dictionary just for those terms that people want to track. You can do a metric dictionary by industry, because I think all metrics are key. And we see people going more and more to the metric dictionary than the regular dictionary. Monitoring. So you've got your task force set up. You've got people cleaning data, defining data, publishing data. How do you know you're successful? You have to monitor it. There's different ways to monitor it. You can monitor with audit reports, data warehouse load reports, any type of report you want to load, track the data loaded, quality reports, exception reports, do some profiling on your data. I like to use Informatica to profile data. I've been implementing Snowflake. It's a database, a data warehouse in the cloud. Snowflake has a metadata layer. We can push the comments very easily to all the tables and columns. We can point Informatica at it and profile where we have missing definitions. There are data governance tools now in place. Axon is a good one from Informatica. Calibra is another one. You can use all of those to help monitor your data governance initiatives. And better data is better business. So measures of data quality. Data quality has turned into a cottage industry on its own. But remember, data quality first and foremost is under the umbrella of data governance. And according to IBM, about $3.1 trillion a year are lost to bad data. So it's very, very important that data quality become a team effort and that we focus on dedicated teams to data quality, not just a part-time job. This lack of data governance always causes bad data. So if you start your data governance task force and you have data quality as one of the top 3 activities, you will see immediate results. It's all about the people. I talked before about the subject area model. The subject area model, those names get translated to organization group names, and they're the first column. Then you map it to your business data steward and your technical data steward. When I worked at Nike, I worked on implementing a data governance task force, and I decided that to get it to stick at Nike, I was going to have to use a sports analogy. So I decided that I was going to use soccer as a sports analogy to sell business data stewards and technical data stewards and data governance. In one of our all hands meetings, Phil Knight was speaking, and this is what Phil Knight said about the people at Nike. He said, "Don't tell people how to do things. Tell them what to do and let them surprise you with the results." And I took that to heart, and I took it back to the data governance task force. And I was surprised at the ingenuity of people. And I have used that in every data governance task force that I've implemented since. And one of the takeaways from my time at Nike was meeting sports athletes that are the best in the world is still a thrill to this day. So if anyone has any questions, we have ample time to answer some questions. Any clarifying issues people have?
Yeah. Lindy, can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's Elizabeth. Yeah, we have a number of questions that have come in. So I think it'll be a nice, engaging conversation for the next 15 minutes. and also expand on some of the topics you brought up. John Salazar asked, for what is the major challenge in implementing and consolidating a data governance program, and the best way to persuade the CXO level for sponsorship?
So, hi, John. How you doing? Can you hear me?
No, he won't be able to respond. Yeah,
okay.
I'm the only person that gets to interact.
Okay. Many times in data governance, you'll have a program that started and failed, and you might be on your third try at data governance. So what I recommend is I look at the work of the previous councils or committees or task force, and I try to bring that to the next level into the program that I'm trying to build. I start small. I include executives. I include their vision, and I listen. I listen to people. I interview people. I ask people what their pain points are. When people see their pain points in the issues log, they're more apt to help solve it, because we're going to use collaborative techniques to solve these data issues. We're going to have facilitated meetings with agendas. We're going to prioritize the data issues, and we're going to pick them off one by one, solve the highest priority first, and then the next one, and then we're going to market and advertise our results. And delivering data that can be served up in dashboards, Power BI dashboards, Tableau dashboards, and people seeing the results. That's what's key. So your data governance task force has to have a series of analytics that sit on top of it that show data governance metrics and then data usage metrics within your corporation. I hope that helps.
Excellent. Next, we have Mary Lou Lopez, who asks, many organizations have failed several, sorry, that's, no, it is different, sorry. Several attempts to implement DG. What would you recommend them to build an effective DG?
Hi, Mary Lou. I want to give a shout out to John and Mary Lou. They are both from Mexico City, and I worked with John in consulting when I was with Grupo Bimbo. John was one of the executive leaders with one of the consulting firms that was supporting Grupo Bimbo. And Mary Lou is working with me on the board of DAMA International. She is the Latin American representative. So we thank you, Mary Lou, for helping to drive data management in Mexico. So Mary Lou, what you need to do to start is identify your charter, identify the people that are going to be involved, start with a small problem, execute on that problem, and deliver. If you can deliver something quick and dirty and people can use it, that is the best way to expand the data governance task force or committee. Use the language that works in your environment. Like I said at Nike, I used a soccer analogy. Starting small is the key, and delivering small increments of data that solve problems. That's the key. And then highlighting when you delivered and executed, and then go to the next problem. Get sponsors, if you can, from the business, from IT, that are going to support you. They're going to go to battle to fight for data sharing, to fight for standards, to fight for consistency. Try to find those people that will help influence executives. I think COVID-19 is going to help people implement data governance. It's sad to say, but I really think it's going to help people because it's so critical that we understand and be on the same page with this pandemic. Okay, next question.
Sure. So Russell Rail asks, has anyone used Calibra for data dictionary and data catalogs?
Yes, Calibra has quite a big following. If you go out to the internet and just search on Calibra, you'll see quite a few customers are using it. It's a pretty sound platform. And Gartner rated Calibra in the top 10 for data governance tools. They might even be in the top 5. There's a nice write-up by Gartner in the Magic Quadrant for data governance tools.
Excellent. So a little more specifically, how do you ensure that data definitions don't get stale and people use and change those using process or workflow, not just through a loose process?
Right. I think the key to the definition work is to have the data governance task force meeting weekly and reviewing those definitions and updating them as changes come. If you can build an active dictionary where you're putting your definitions in a database and putting the changes in a database, and then they're refreshing daily, that will be the key. If you have to manage it on a spreadsheet, you just have to have some dedicated resources. I would focus on starting with 10 critical, mission critical data elements and get those knocked out of the park. Define them, add business rules, have examples, document the stewards, and publish those. I would also have a marketing roadshow where you have some Zoom meetings, you have some team meetings, and you highlight and showcase the work you've done. You can put the link to your dictionary in your Slack channel. You can put a link to the dictionary in your Teams channels. You can email links to the dictionary via newsletters. You can email the dictionary link to users of certain business areas. In some healthcare organizations, the clinical analytics owns all the COVID-19 reporting, and the dictionary is updated almost real time for those clinical analytics groups. And they also get an email daily to go check out the dictionary. And many of them make it a favorite in their browser so they can refer to it whenever they need. So those are some things you can do to help the definition stick. One other thing I forgot, start with industry standard definitions, always. If there is something out there, I'm going to use a banking example, average daily balance. The banking industry has defined that. You don't have to make it up. You can beg, borrow, and steal. You can reuse that definition and just put the source of where you got it. And if people want to enrich it, you will add a business rule to that definition. If you can't start with an industry definition, get a group of people together and start with a definition that works for your organization. Hope that helps.
Yeah, extremely good point on both of those. And here on the related topic, but a different spin, how do you manage definitions when dealing with a very abstract term? For example, justice or peace.
Right. So justice, I like to go out to Webster's and I like to pick the best definition I can find, whether it's in a Webster dictionary or an online dictionary. And then I like to wordsmith it for the organization that I'm in. And I like to give it examples of what justice means to that organization. And then I socialize it. I socialize it with other data stewards. I socialize it with business people. I socialize it with the legal team, because many times the legal team in any corporation will own an attribute like justice or a business term like justice. So those are some things that I do. I will also go out to other dictionaries like the ECMA dictionary. That's more of a technical dictionary, but Gartner has a really nice business and technical dictionary. I'll go out there and grab a link And I might even put the link to other dictionaries in the justice definition, because many times executives want to know that you've vetted the definition and that you're sticking and following industry guidelines. And so that's an easy way to show them. And then once everyone approves of the definition, get it published, make it golden, make it available so that people can reuse it and share it. You know, I always say sharing data is like trying to find something in your garage. I have all these boxes in my garage, and some of them have labels on them and some of them don't have labels. Do you think my husband's going to go out to the garage and open boxes with no labels and find paintbrushes? No. He's going to drive down to Home Depot and buy some more paintbrushes. So if you want people to reuse data, you have to name it correctly and you have to put it in a place that's easily accessible. And if you have a garage full of full of unnamed boxes, go start labeling those boxes and your family will reuse stuff. They won't go out and buy new stuff.
Wow, talk about practical tips that you can really use in everyday life. That's wonderful. I love that example. And how timely. We had one person shout out, anonymous, ECMA is great. So that was
awesome.
That.
Maybe it was Peter Benson. Are you listening, Peter? I've worked with Peter and he's one of the founders of ECMA.
Excellent. So I think you're uniquely prepared to answer this question. How do you engage stakeholders in new companies to discuss data governance? What is your first steps?
Okay, it's a new company. Is it a large company, a small company, a startup, brick and mortar?
You're going to have to just pick one in the middle, perhaps.
So what I would recommend is know the appetite of your environment. A startup has an appetite. Most startups have an appetite of making money and establishing themselves. Data governance can help you make money and it can help you save money. And I would start with a financial model. Look at all the financial terms that your corporation is using. Look at the products that you're selling and start with the definitions there and the services that you're selling, and start small. Start with only the mission critical and do a small prototype to influence the executives. Something that is a pain point, and you can interview people and find out their pain points. And you can pick one pain point and use it as a prototype and deliver and serve up the data. And that's an easy way to help sell data governance. But what I'm telling you today is data governance is not easy to sell. It would have been done years ago if it was easy. But I think the fact that we're all working remotely and our online presence is our persona, how we define ourselves and how we post our thoughts and our feelings is how people are judging us today. And if we're posting and talking in a positive way, and if we're tweeting good data practices, and we're tweeting how we solved a data problem, how we unraveled the data hairball, people are going to like that. People are going to reuse it. And the highest form of flattery is imitation. When I implemented the first metric dictionary in a major healthcare corporation, nobody really said, good idea. They were like, what's this? We don't need this. Slowly, as the pandemic went on and on, it took foothold. Then a Tableau developer basically took the workbook, copied it verbatim, just changed a few columns, and turned it into a technical dictionary to identify a couple data sources that they were trying to track. And imitation is the highest form of flattery. So if you deliver good work, people are going to take it and they're going to morph it and reuse it. And so I think that's really important in the times we have today, because we used to be able to go sit at somebody's desk and help influence them to reuse a definition or to share a design. Now we have to do it online, and it has to be visual. It can't just be a bunch of words. That's why, you know, a spreadsheet, sometimes the data quality error doesn't pop out at you, only when you put it on a website or a dashboard. And I learned that the hard way at Yahoo. You can tweak something, but once it's on the web, that's when all the data quality and bad data shouts out at you.
Prudent advice. So Ryan Smith, which I guess worked with you at Nike, he asks, what are some of the most compelling motivation for data governance and architecture, which really has resonated with companies that you've worked for in the past?
Hi, Ryan. How you doing? I would say one company that really embraced data governance early on, within the first 1 or 2 meetings, and I was working with John Salazar, was Grupo Bimbo in Mexico City. I can honestly tell you that Grupo Bimbo is a data-driven company, and they became data-driven pretty early on, not early on in the establishment of the company, but back in 2011, they said, we need to get off our database, our gigantic Teradata warehouse. It's not effective, and we need to do it smartly, and we need data governance and data stewardship. And they embraced it. And one thing that they did, which I found very, very critical, was they decided to certify all their data stewards from MIT using the certification program there for data quality. And Dr. Rich Wang, our beloved Dr. Wang, who's running this symposium, flew down to Mexico City with me. John was there as well. And we delivered a data governance, a data quality and governance training program and certification program. Once everyone got certified, and we took a photo of everyone with Dr. Wang, and people started putting those photographs in their cubes. That's really what sold it, and it took off from there. And those stewards that were certified were so proud and so happy to share their learnings and share their photographs with Dr. Wang. And I really think that was a real effective way. And I think American companies can do more things like that. Unfortunately, none of my American clients have ever wanted to be certified in data quality. I've pitched it, but it hasn't happened yet. Hopefully it'll happen.
Yeah, and it's interesting, an extension of Dr. Wang's quality certification, he is also running a Chief Data Officer certification program as well.
And
now.
I have that Chief Data Officer certification. I was in Dr. Wang's first class, and we were planning to have a Chief Data Officer certification class here in Portland, but the pandemic hit, and so it's been moved. And I don't know if we'll have one here or if we'll have an online version. Good point, Elizabeth.
Okay. And here's a really good one. We only have about 5 minutes left. We have a number of questions, so we'll see what we can, if we can get to the bottom here. This is a really good one. How do companies pick critical data elements? Any best practices around it?
Yes. Yes, you know that you have a mission critical data element when it appears in 3 or more dashboards, any type of dashboard, when executives talk about it, and when executives give time, money, and effort to keep that data clean. So in the retail industry, product data is king, and Ryan can tell you that product data is king at Nike. Ryan used to run the product data area. Sales data is king. Customer data and financial data. Those are the 4 categories of data that are usually mission critical. Product, customer, sales, and financial. Financial first and then sales underneath it. In healthcare, you can look at your subject area model. patient diagnosis, treatment. Those are some of the most critical data elements in the healthcare industry. When you're trying to figure out what works for you and your corporation, go work with the dashboard builders, go work with the data analytics team or the data management team if your company has one, and find out what is the data that they have pain points with. And they'll tell you, oh, we're always fixing pricing data. So then you know that's one of the critical data elements that you need to work on. And it changes from company to company. But I can tell you, if you fix customer and finance data, no one will ever say stop doing it. They'll say keep going.
Sage advice. And I know you can't hear feedback, but Ryan echoes. He says absolutely about your shout out about Nike's work. But now, Ashish Hurare, what can you do to make definitions seamlessly available to business users so they don't have to leave their BI dashboard and find what their term means?
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about a Tableau dashboard because I've been using Tableau since 2009. And there's something in Tableau called a tooltip. And you can hover over a metric or a term and you can put the definition in that tooltip. That's one of the data governance metadata features of Tableau that I love. That's an easy way. Now, when developers are in a hurry, they don't fill out the tooltips and they're missing an opportunity. So they need to collaborate with the data governance professional and let the data governance professional write all those definitions for them, send it to them either in a database or a spreadsheet, and then they can import it into their tooltips. So that's one way. Power BI is up and coming. I'm seeing a lot of people doing Power BI dashboards. What I've seen in Power BI dashboards is they will create a data definition dashboard. So the first dashboard might be total sales by region. They'll have a tab and it'll say definitions, data definitions. And then in that, they'll create a dashboard that has all the definitions there. If your user, your executive has to click more than 3 clicks to get a definition, you've lost them. You can't click more than 3 times. 1 or 2 is optimal. The Tableau dashboards that I painted today that you saw, those, when you click on the link, it defaults to the business and it defaults to all the terms so they can see it, the first page. If they want something that starts with a D, all they have to do is click on the D, the letter D, and then everything with a D shows up and they scroll. So they never have to click more than 3 times. That's how you get people to use it, and then publish it and make it easy. Put it in your Slack channel, put it everywhere, put the link as a favorite, show people how to create favorites.
I love it. Well, we've made it to the end of the session today. We have a lot of great questions. There's a few left. I'll cut and paste them and send them over to you. But maybe you want to give people a way to contact you directly beyond, I guess there's your phone number in the image right now. They can pick that up and give you a call.
They can call me or they can go out to Twitter and search on Lindy Kresl. I'm on Twitter. I was going to put my Twitter handle there and I just ran out of time. I've been pretty busy in the time of COVID-19.
Yeah. Excellent. All right, Lindy, thank you so much. You did an outstanding job. And on behalf of MIT CDOIQ, we've been very excited to have you speak, and welcome back.
Thank you, everyone. And thanks to everyone who had a question. I hope we can chat on the phone sometime soon.